This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Judaism seems to put a tremendous emphasis on achdus, on unity. Every day in davening, we ask Hashem, V'yachid levavenu, unite our hearts. The giving of the Torah was literally contingent on Klal Yisrael being unified, ki ish echad, b'lev echad. We say at the end of davening, Barcheinu avinu kulanu ke'echad. There is a literal lav in the Torah in Devarim Perek Yud Daled Pasuk Aleph that says, Banim atem l'Hashem Elokeichem lo tisgeidu, which the Gemara in Yevamos Daf Yud Daled Amud Aleph it says, don't have separate camps. That's what it means. Don't splinter off into different groups. Achdus is preached in every school, and in every seminary, and in every sleepaway camp. It's in every other music video. It's in every other song. We forever hear about Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim, Sinas Chinam, Achdus, Achdus, Achdus. We seem to put tremendous emphasis on unity within Klal Yisrael, which is precisely why when you actually read the Torah in general, and in Parshas Bamidbar in particular, it seems so bizarre that the Torah seems to take a very divisive stance. Hashem could have made us into one big Klal Yisrael, one big nation, and yet he didn't. He split us into 12 separate Shvatim. And not only does the Torah divide us into 12 separate Shvatim, but it goes into tremendous detail about the differences between the 12 Shvatim. How they had to camp in different sections, how for a while they wouldn't marry into each other, how they always had different leaders with different flags and different colors and different emblems and different logos, as if this was like one big giant spiritual color war. Why does it do that? And this divide wasn't just that way in the Midbar. We had this divide while we were still in Mitzrayim. Apparently this divide was so important to us that when we were at the edge of the Yam Suf, and we had the mightiest army in the world about to slice our heads off, and finally the sea splits, we don't just jump in like you'd expect us to with our pants are on fire. No. Instead, the Al-Kashmani says, we carefully and in an organized fashion, we use precious minutes to orient ourselves and create 12 separate lines, one for each Shevet, to walk through the Yam Suf. Doesn't that seem odd? Being together with our Shevet meant so much to us that even while running for our lives with our hair on fire, we spared precious minutes to orient ourselves in order to go out together with our particular Shevet. Why? Just run like one big Klal Yisrael. Wouldn't that be the most unified way? If we're all into unity, shouldn't one of the most important moments in all of Klal Yisrael's history, the very genesis of our nation, come with extreme unity? Instead, it looked like 12 different tribes are walking out of Mitzrayim. Why in the world would the Torah do it that way? And it doesn't even stop there. We finally get the Torah, and afterwards, we erect 12 separate monuments to commemorate it. Does that make any sense? The Torah, which was contingent on us being ki ish echad b'lev echad, and then we go ahead and we erect 12 separate stones commemorating it? How in the world does that make any sense? And we have 12 separate stones on the Choshen. And then we set up 12 separate stones after we cross the Yarden. And the Torah counts each and every person 1,000,000 times in Klal Yisrael in the desert according to their Shevet. The entire Sefer Bamidbar is called Sefer Pekudim, the Book of Numbers, where the Torah counts each and every person according to their Shevet, almost as if to say, don't you dare forget what Shevet you're in. Why does the Torah do this? Doesn't that fly in the face of Achdus? The Torah's constant categorization and compartmentalization of all the Shvatim seems to pull us apart rather than bring us together. Why not just have Klal Yisrael as one big group? Why have 12 separate Shvatim in the first place? What was their point? Why can't we all just be one big, giant, happy family sitting around the campfire with Joey Newcomb, singing Kalbach, drinking Arak, and eating chalent? Why have the whole 12 Shvatim arrangement? Doesn't it fly in the face of Achdus and unity? Doesn't it divide and fragment? What exactly was it that Hashem had in mind when counting us again and again and again according to our Shevet? Perhaps the answer is the following. When Hashem goes out of his way to painstakingly count each and every member of Klal Yisrael and each and every Shevet and record it in the Torah, it's not meant to be mere historical facts. It's not satisfy some heavenly Yeki bookkeeper. It's to drive home the message that each and every member of our holy nation is important and integral. Each and every individual plays a role. Each and every person in Klal Yisrael brings something to the table that nobody else does. The tafkid of Shevet Zvulun is different than the tafkid of Shevet Gad, and the tafkid of Ruvain is different than the tafkid of Shimon, and the tafkid of Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky is not the same as the tafkid of Uncle Maishi, And the tafkid of Eli from London is not the same as Chaim from Petach Tikva. Each and every person in Klal Yisrael has a tafkid that the entire world relies on. You are not a number. You are not a statistic. You are a soul with a divinely instituted mission, and the entire spiritual galaxy is incomplete without you. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you live. Everyone in Klal Yisrael, by definition, has a tafkid that the entire world relies on. And it's for this exact reason that the Gemara in Sanhedrin says, "V'chol ha'mekayim nefesh achas mitzro, ki'ilu kayim olam mali." If you save another Jewish person's life, it's as if you saved the entire world. What does that mean? You didn't save the whole world. You saved one person. The answer is that each person in Klal Yisrael is needed by the entire world. And saving that person means saving the entire world. It's not merely saving a soldier in Hashem's army that can be replaced with another soldier. It's like saving the only soldier left in Hashem's army. It's like saving the only soldier who knows the codes to the nuclear bombs. And therefore, conversely, the Gemara says, "Kol ha'ma'abed nefesh achas miYisrael ma'alev hakasav ki'ilu avad olam maleh." If one allows a Jew to die or otherwise be prevented in accomplishing his tafkid, it's as if you destroyed an entire world, because who knows what that person was going to accomplish spiritually? Who knows what spiritual effect he was going to have on the universe? It's like the Mishnah says, Ein lecha adam she'ein lo isha. There's no such thing as a redundant Jew. Another name for Sefer Bamidbar is Sefer Pekudim, or numbers. The word Pekudim comes from the word tafkid, mission, purpose. The counting and the recounting and the recounting of the Jews in the Midbar wasn't for the sake of keeping a good record of the population. It wasn't for the heavenly accountants to ensure that they claim all the dependents on their tax return. It was to drive home the fact that yes, God knows your name and he needs you for the spiritual continuity of the world. It's empowering. When we divide the Jewish people into separate tribes and separate camps with separate flags and separate colors, we're not highlighting the differences. We are emphasizing the unique skills each and every Shevet possesses. What Naphtali adds to the Jewish people is different than what Asher adds, and what Dan brings to the table is different than what Binyamin does. All are critical, all are irreplaceable. And this concept was so important that you better believe when walking into the Yam Suf, at the very genesis of our nation, we made sure to be with our unique Shevet, because each and every one of us fulfilling our unique tafkid is the only way our nation is successful. We use flags and signs and emblems to empower each member of Klal Yisrael and to remind us that we all have strengths and we all have talents and we all have something unique that the entire nation relies on. Hashem does not want us to all be the same. He wants us to have our flag with pride and wave it following our inner tafkid. Now listen to this amazing thing the Gemara says in Psachim. If someone threatens you to kill another Jew or else you yourself will be killed, the halacha is that you are required to be killed instead of the other person. And the Gemara says the reason is because who said that your blood is any better than his blood? Now think about that for a second. This Gemara applies across the board. That means if Reb Chaim Kanievsky would be walking down an alleyway on some side street in Bnei Brak, and a terrorist would jump out in front of him with a gun and would say, "See that guy over there?" And he points to some irreligious man who just walked out of his barber shop. "You see that guy? Go kill that guy." The halacha is that Reb Chaim has to take the bullet instead of that other guy. And the reason the Gemara says is because who said that Reb Chaim's blood is any better than this guy's blood? Now think about that for a minute. Does that make any sense? Reb Chaim is the greatest of the great. This guy is an irreligious barber. Reb Chaim learns 25 hours a day. This guy hasn't learned a word in his life. Reb Chaim hasn't said Lashon Hara in 65 years. This guy can't keep his mouth shut. Reb Chaim swims in Kedusha and Tahara. This guy swims in local pools. What do you mean, whose blood is redder? What does this Gemara even mean? The answer is that we know nothing. The answer is we haven't gotten a clue what is contained in the neshamas of people. The answer is that when you stand in front of another yid, you have absolutely no idea what you're looking at. You don't know what kind of neshama is standing before you. You don't know what the wars they've fought in silence. You don't know what they've endured, what they've survived. You don't know what palace of light is buried under their layers of external darkness. You don't know what they're meant to become. You don't know the one mitzvah they'll do that will change the world. You don't know what the divine blueprint they carry inside of them. You know nothing. And that's the point. In Hashem's eyes, the barber is not a background character. He's not a filler. He's not an extra in Reb Chaim Kanievsky's movie. He's a main character in his own internal story, and the spiritual world is completely incomplete without him. That's what it means to believe in the infinite value of every Jew. That's what it means to know that in Hashem's army, every soldier has a secret mission. And some of the most dangerous missions are assigned to the ones who look the most ordinary. We don't write people off in Klal Yisrael. We don't rank souls, because in the eyes of heaven, that simple Jew might just be carrying the codes to Mashiach, to redemption, because every Jew is priceless, not hypothetically, not poetically, literally, unfathomably, eternally. Every single morning, the absolute first thing we say when we wake up is the last two words are, how great is your emunah? Now let's ask an obvious question. Why does Hashem need to have emunah? Isn't it our job to have emunah? What does it mean, Rabba emunah? How great is your emunah? The answer is immediately after we thank Hashem for returning our neshamas each day, we thank Him for His emunah in us, in the tafkid He placed in our souls, and the fact that He entrusted us to accomplish a spiritual mission that the entire world needs to survive. When colors clash in an unorganized mess, you know what that's called? It's called graffiti. But when they all come into a purpose and form an organized line, it's called a rainbow. All colors are merely the refraction of the same white light. It just bends a little to form a unique appearance. We too all come from the same forefathers and matriarchs, our holy avos and imos, who shine their light throughout the prism of time, and it got refracted into 12 different tribes, each with its unique set of talents, each with its role to play, and we all come together to form the rainbow, which is Klal Yisrael. Each color plays its part. The Tajbet, otherwise known as Reb Shimon ben Tzemach Duran, a Spanish tzaddik from the 1300s, he points out something remarkable. He says, the name of the Jewish people is Yisrael. He says the word Yisrael is really an acronym of the first letters of each of the Avos and Imos. Yud, Sin, Resh, Aleph, Lamed. Yud is for Yitzchak and Yaakov. Sin is for Sarah. Resh is for Rachel and Rivka. Aleph is for Avram. And Lamed is for Leah. For we are their continuity. The fire that they started got divided 12 different ways, and each of us is entrusted with making sure that fire remains. This is why the Shulchan Aruch in Orach Chaim Tzadi writes that there's a minhag that a shul has 12 windows, which further reminds us that we don't all have to be the same. We don't all have to be identical. In fact, we can't be. We are all unique in the eyes of Hashem, and that should be celebrated, not tolerated. The very name we give a shul is a Beis HaKnesses, which translates to mean a house of ingathering. What are we gathering exactly? It's a place where the lawyer sits next to the Maggid Shir, who sits next to the guy who does kiruv, who sits next to the musician who plays keyboard at weddings, who sits next to the bar mitzvah bachar, who sits next to the meshulach from Bnei Brak. All integral children of Hashem, all doing the holy work that Hashem lovingly entrusted us to do. The 12 windows in a shul remind us that each and every yid is needed, and the entire spiritual world is incomplete without him. Now here's the problem. The problem is that it's hard. The problem is that it's so easy to simply say, listen, I'm just a regular person. I live in Monsey. I have 6,000 other people in my grade. I live in Lakewood. I live in Borough Park. I live in Yerushalayim. I'm one person on a block of 50,000 people. Or I live in Vancouver. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I live in San Jose. I live in Sydney. What good am I? I'm a regular accountant. I live in Baltimore. I'm an actuary from North Woodmere. What do you want from me? I'm not a Rosh Hashiva. I'm not a Rebbitzin. I'm not a Rav. I'm not spiritually sophisticated. The world would be more than fine without me. Not only is this way of thinking wrong, it's dangerously wrong. And here's why. Hashem told Avram one starry night to go out of his tent and look up and see the stars. You see those stars, Hashem told him? One day your descendants are going to be like those stars. So you ever wonder what exactly Hashem meant by that? That we're going to one day grow to be as astronomically incalculable as the stars? A nation so large in number that we can't count them? That hasn't really ever panned out. The Jewish people have hovered between 13 and 19 million people for the duration of our history. When you compare that to the 2.83 billion Christians and the 1.89 billion Muslims and the 943 million Hindus and the 488 million Buddhists, that number is pathetically small. So what exactly did Hashem mean? So Rav Moshe Sternbach, as well as Rav Shamshon Fowler Hirsch, all give you the same explanation. He said, Hashem wasn't telling Avram that his children will one day be as uncountable as the stars in the sky. Hashem was telling Avram that the same way you look up at a star amongst the millions of other stars, And it seems so small and insignificant and inconsequential, and yet in reality is massive. There are stars that are more than 1,000 times the size of the sun. So you put that into perspective, Earth is 7,918 miles in its circumference. The sun is 430,000 miles in its circumference. There are stars that are 1,000 times as large as the sun, meaning there are stars that are 430 million miles in their circumference, and that they appear to the human eye as a little flicker in the night. A star seems so small and insignificant, and yet can be massively consequential to the health of the galaxy and the gravitational pull and the ozone layer. So too your descendants, Hashem tells Avram, might view themselves as small, as irrelevant, as insignificant, and yet in reality have 430 million megawatts of holiness inside of them, and are massively consequential to the health of the entire spiritual galaxy. There is no such thing as a redundant Jew. There's no such thing as a redundant Yid. Each one holds up the entire world, literally. This is why we use the term Yirah Shamayim. Ever thought about it? Why do we use the phrase Yirah Shamayim, fear of the sky? What does that even mean? Why don't we say what we mean to say? The person has Yiras Hashem, or Yiras Alekim, or Yiras HaTorah. Why do we say he has Yirah Shamayim? The answer, says Reb Chaim Volozhin, is that real fear of Hashem isn't just about being afraid of punishment or doing the wrong thing. It's the deep, soul-shaking awareness that your life affects the entire cosmos, the entire sky. Every small action, every word you speak or don't speak matters. Every mitzvah you do or mitzvah you don't do. Every moment you hold back from anger, every smile you gave when you should have given it, or smile you didn't give when you should have given it, every drop of ink you learned or didn't learn, every single thing you do rattles the heavens and affects the entire spiritual infrastructure of the universe. That's Yirah Shamayim. It's not fear of the sky, it's the reverence of someone who knows they walk beneath a living, breathing heaven, and that their every step sends shockwaves through it. When we say someone has Yirah Shamayim, we're saying this person lives like everything he does matters, like the heavens themselves are tied to his every choice. That's the fire behind Yirah Shamayim, knowing that when I walk this earth, I'm walking under a sky that's not only alive, but it's watching and listening and reacting to every move I make. Listen to this story. So for many hundreds of years, a horrible disease called yellow fever killed millions and millions of people around the world, and people were essentially clueless as to how to stop it. The fever was a ferocious illness that caused the victims to turn yellow with jaundice, and eventually they lose all functionality in their organs, and it destroyed entire cities, and it brought widespread fear to many parts of the world for close to 400 years. In the year 1927, in the country of Ghana in West Africa, a man named Mr. Asibi contracted yellow fever, and he went to see a doctor in the Rockefeller Yellow Fever Research Laboratory. And the doctor took a blood sample from him, and he gave him some medicine, and he sent him home where he recovered and he overcame the illness. Completely unbeknownst to Mr. Asibi, his blood was then given to an American doctor named Max Theiler, who used the blood to extract the yellow fever strain and experiment on it and slowly soften the strain and eventually inject it into humans in the hopes that they could learn to overcome the soft strain, which would eventually help them overcome the larger strain if they ever contracted it. After extensive research, from that blood sample, Theiler developed the yellow fever vaccine, which eventually became known as the 17D vaccine, which effectively eradicated yellow fever in most of the world and has estimated to have saved close to 100 million lives since its discovery, and is considered one of the most effective and long-lasting vaccines in medical history. Here's the craziest part. Mr. Asibi went his whole life not knowing that it was his blood sample that led to the vaccine. He had absolutely no idea that it was his strain that was still being injected into people around the world, saving them from one of the most horrid diseases to have ever struck the planet. One man's blood saved hundreds of millions of people, and he had no idea. One man's blood would go on to save hundreds of thousands of people every year for decades, and he had absolutely no idea. Every single one of us is the exact same. Each and every one of us has spiritual blood, sweat, and tears that we shed, and mountains we've climbed, and tests we've overcome that saved the entire world, and we had no idea about it. How foolish to think we're redundant. How foolish to think we're unnecessary. Every single one of us has a tafkid running through our bloodstream that the entire world needs. We may not ever get a Nobel Prize for it. We may not get a plaque on the wall for it. We may not get honored at a dinner for it. No one is giving us shlishi for it. No one is standing up for us when we walk into the room. We may not even know we accomplished our tafkid. But Hashem knows. And at the end of the day, He's the only one that matters. Each and every yid contain the codes to the spiritual world, and there's no exception to this rule. Look at this fascinating quote from Adolf Hitler from a book called Hitler's Apocalypse on page 26. Quote, "If only one country, for whatever reason, tolerates a Jewish family in it, that family will become the germ center for fresh sedition. If one Jewish boy survives, even without any Jewish education, even without any synagogue, no Hebrew school, Judaism will still be in there, for it is in his soul. The Jewish spirit has been around from the moment these people were formed, and there is no Jew, not a single one, who does not personify it." Adolf Hitler. That's a scary quote. Do we see that in others? Do we look at another yid and see a man carrying a spark that the entire world needs? Do we feel that way when we see ourselves? If the people who want to kill us see it, then so must we. Listen to this story. There was a special needs boy named Rafi who loved being in shul and helping out in shul and coming early to davening and staying to put the siddurim away. And he couldn't say the words. He wasn't sure which way to hold the siddur, but he was there day in and day out like a soldier. And being that this took place many, many years ago when there weren't many school options for special needs kids, he had to go to public school, sadly. So that's where he went, and he made do with it. One year, as the non-Jewish holiday season approached, the public school that Rafi went to announced that they were having an Xmas holiday song recital where every one of the students would get up on a stage in front of the whole school and all the teachers and all the parents, and they would perform a holiday song. So Rafi excitedly came home and told his parents about the recital and asked them if they could come. But they both looked at their calendar and they said they were busy that day and they wouldn't be able to make it. So Rafi later that night in shul, he marches over to the Rav of the shul, Rabbi Shapiro, and he said, "Rabbi, my school is having a holiday recital and my parents can't come to watch me. Can you come?" Now, the Rav wasn't exactly sitting around twiddling his thumbs all day. He had speeches to prepare and shiurim to give. He said, "Rafi, I'll see what I can do. I hope to be there." The day of the recital came and Rabbi Shapiro raced to the school and he got there late. And he's running in, and the security passes by a security guard, and the security guard says, "Rabbi Shapiro, you Rabbi Shapiro?" "Yes." "Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you're here because Rafi's been asking me if you came." And then Rabbi Shapiro walked into the office to see where he should go, and the secretary says, "Are you Rabbi Shapiro? Rafi's been telling us the whole week that you're coming. He's very excited." Rabbi Shapiro walks into a packed auditorium. Hundreds of students and teachers and parents came to watch this Xmas recital. Rabbi Shapiro took a seat in the back, and he watched as each and every kid got up to sing some Xmas song, and after each kid, the entire audience applauded. Kid after kid after kid after kid. Then it was Rafi's turn. Rafi couldn't walk properly. Rafi couldn't talk properly. He couldn't sing properly. He had to be helped onto the stage by some teachers. He was holding a guitar that he didn't know how to play, and he began strumming it, and he started singing. "I had a little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, oh dreidel, I shall play. Oh dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. When it's dry and ready, oh dreidel, I shall play." And he sang it with enthusiasm, and he sang it with a smile, and he sang it with pride, and he sang it with emotion. And then he finished, and there was silence. People just sat there. They never heard that song before. They just sat there. But there was one man in the back who shot up like a rocket, and Rabbi Shapiro, and he screamed out at the top of his lungs, "Way to go, Rafi! Way to go! Hooray! Great job, Rafi! Amazing!" And he stood up and he began clapping as the recital came to its conclusion. Now, let me ask you something. Did anyone else in the room realize the intricacies of a Jewish soul? No. Did Rafi realize or know what a dreidel truly stands for? No. Did anyone in the crowd realize that Xmas is a celebration of Jews no longer being the chosen people, and the dreidel is the symbol of us refusing to give in no matter what? No. Did anyone in that room truly understand Rafi's pain and fear and anxieties and confusion and self-doubts and hardships and troubles and challenges in life? No. But you know who did? Each and every one of the heavenly angels who were listening to every one of Rafi's words, who were shedding tears at the courage he displayed, who were broadcasting his performance on billboards in heaven for the entire Gan Eden to watch. Some people make the mistake in life in saying, Who am I? I have dyslexia. I have ADHD. I don't have a great upbringing. My parents were divorced. I take 15 pills a day. I got kicked out of 6 high schools. I can barely sit down and learn. I have a hard time connecting to tefillah. I haven't opened a siddur in 10 years. I'm a nothing. This is a mistake. Every single person in Klal Yisrael has their song that they sing that the angels in heaven gather round to listen to and to cry to, because at the end of one's life, the only question Hashem will ask us is, did we climb our mountain? I don't care about your neighbor's mountain. I don't care about your friend's mountain. I don't care about your Rav's mountain. I don't care about your brother's mountain. I don't care about anyone else's mountain but yours. Did you climb your mountain? The one I gave you. The challenges, the issues, the problems I gave you. Did you climb that mountain? Because at the end of one's life, the litmus test in determining if your life was successful or not is not how high you climbed up your neighbor's mountain. It's how high you climbed up yours. That is the only thing that matters. Each and every member of Klal Yisrael is a soldier in Hashem's army, tasked with a mission only he can carry out. He is a star that the entire universe relies on. Every Morah, every Shatnez checker, every mikveh attendant, every Erev checker, every sukkah builder, every matzah baker, every sheikhet, every gabbai, every Baal Tekeah, every rabbi, every congregant, every badchan, every fundraiser, every beggar, every rich man, woman, and child. Every single one of us combine with the rest of Klal Yisrael to form the rainbow that is the Jewish people. Every single one of us has a special place in the star-filled night Avram saw so many years ago. Every one of us has to live life as if we are Hashem's only child, because in His eyes, we are.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.